2015 was a big year for both Coinsilium and blockchain technologies.
For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Jan Skoyles. I am the marketing manager at Coinsilium. But I actually came to Coinsilium because Coinsilium invested in the company that I co-founded, which is the real asset company, which is a gold trading platform. And we did some sort of fairly interesting stuff with blockchain technology, and that's how I first came to Coinsilium, and now I work for them. This evening I just sort of wanted to do a panel discussion with 5 of our investee companies that we have here, and now everyone can hear me, hopefully. So this is quite a unique opportunity we've got here to have this many investee companies in the room. I wanted to take advantage of that. Just a quick note to Adrian, his wife's been on the phone, and I'll be asking you the hardest questions ever after you've noted that you're monitoring on the blockchain with your smart contracts. So I just wanted to talk through 2015 was a very sort of hyped up year for blockchain in many areas and in many institutions in terms of what was going on. A lot of people for kind of PR purposes, namely banks and some kind of governments, were talking about what they were doing with blockchain. And it made a very interesting story. And everyone could come up with examples of use cases. But now I think, personally, that 2016 is about in-use cases and what's really going on really in blockchain and what can come from it. And I think 2016 really, I don't know if you agree with me, is about what the consumer can be relating to and how they're going to be affected by blockchain technology, whether they know about it or not. Arguably, many of them won't know about it. So my first question is to Meinhard. I've had a few people in the last few weeks getting very frustrated with the change of what's happening with Forbes and the sort of various ad blockers and stuff going on. So for you, what are you seeing as the opportunities and challenges, or not challenges, for 2016 for SatoshiPay, given you just launched your product earlier on this year?
So first of all, I think the people should not know that they're using blockchain technology. It should just disappear to the background, just be a layer that makes things more efficient, cheaper, and faster maybe. So that's exactly what we're doing as well. So we're actually partnering with... should I stand up? Okay. Okay, so we're actually partnering with a consumer payment brand, Visa, to make it very easy for them to, for customers just to use what they know already to top up and then just spend that on the web. And not having to acquire Bitcoin first, just really use Bitcoin as the layer in between. And I think that's something, once we solve that, we can really open up to like a mainstream, and that's actually happening. So people won't know it's Bitcoin. Also, even the content publishers or the digital publishers that publish to us, they will not know that Bitcoin is in the middle, because they can have just bank transfers to the existing banks. So I think that's solving a lot of that friction that maybe blockchain or Bitcoin introduces.
And Stephen, given, sort of on our phones, how is this going to make a big impact for us this year, and what are the opportunities that you're seeing, and kind of what are the challenges that Rivetz is facing in terms of kind of adoption, and do you require consumers to know what you're doing in terms of blockchain technology, or is this kind of something that's going to be seamless as you step into the market?
No, I think definitely it has to be seamless. I mean, and I think the best way to understand that is, so nobody really actually cares about cybersecurity, right? Nobody spends extra time and money on it, and when possible, we say we click on the button that says "Remember me" in the phone, because we don't want to type a stupid password in every single time. And so systemically, we have separated security. Sorry, let me just stand up. So we have separated security and the consumer experience. Everybody wants a better consumer experience in this, and we've made it too hard. And so when you look at, let's say, a Bitcoin wallet as an example, there's all these risks. I might lose my keys, I might lose all my money, I have all these concerns about it, perhaps. Or I use it and then one morning I wake up and there's just no money in my account. That's the last time I use it, right? And so we need to provide, as application vendors, the tools to make this a seamless, high-quality experience. And where the value is created this is how we increase the value of the subscriber for all the services that we belong to. So if you had a choice between your Sky television box, you push the channel, the TV comes on. It's fantastic. Or Netflix. Every time you want the TV to come on, you have to type in a password. And then the children change the password, which means you can't log into Netflix anymore, without calling the children to find out what the password is. So we don't like that experience. We want that experience of I push the button and the television comes on. And I think that's the challenge for us. We have all this great technology. What is blockchain? blockchain is a persistently, always audited ledger. So anywhere you look around and see a ledger, it's going to change because I can get rid of the auditors, fundamentally. And so when you look out there and say, is blockchain technology going to get used? Yes, all in favor of reducing the audit costs in 100% of the companies we're invested in. Raise their hands. Of course we want to, right? This is what this technology does, bring efficiency to this process. We're very early on in the process, but we're seeing those changes. And so we're here to try and bring a very important piece of the puzzle. Everybody has systemically forgotten cybersecurity, and we as consumers are suffering through it every single day. Your password isn't complex enough. Can you please change it? I'm sorry, could you add another password to your account? Oh, have you ever tried to log into mobile banking? It takes like 4 passwords to log into your mobile banking account. Well, that's convenient, right? So let's get back to the spot where we get to where we want, which is the ability to deliver a great customer experience that's safe on everything we do. And so I came from an industry where after 20 years of hard slaving work, we put the hardware in every one of your devices. We have replaced already 100% of the PCs in every enterprise everywhere in the world with these technologies. There are 500 million smartphones with this capability. Now we need to turn it on for you. And that's the purpose of Rivetz. I left what I was doing before, which was enabling the hardware distribution, to build the tools so every application vendor can begin to touch these technologies and not be restricted by the carriers and the payment industry that have prevented our hands from being used of these in part of all the technologies we use. And so that's the goal. The goal is to make it simpler, stronger, and faster so we have a better consumer experience for everyone.
So I can see you nodding. And earlier on we were talking about how we wanted to make Factom available for everybody to be using. Is that a serious opportunity, or is it a wee bit of a challenge as well for what Factom's getting involved with? And before I panic everyone that you're sort of releasing your technology to the world, what does it really mean when we say we want to make this kind of open and available to everybody?
Yeah, really awesome question. David Johnson once said, in 5 years, 1 billion people using Bitcoin, most of them won't know it. And fundamental to how these technologies are built is they're built on open source. So turns out the internet's also built on open source. We think of these things now as public utilities. Like, who owns the internet? No, it's owned by all of us and none of us. That's the same way Bitcoin operates. It's owned by all of us and none of us. We also believe that that's the way Factom should operate. It's owned by all of us and none of us. It's a public utility that you can write this data to and never ever unwrite it. Okay, so how does any of that constitute a business, right? You know, if you're giving away the technology, how does that work?
How do you make money?
How do you make money? Okay, so unlike the internet, Factom has a cost per publish. So when you write that data that never ever ever goes away, it costs something. And the public utility Factom network anybody can use and pay a tiny little bit. It's like 1/10 of a penny every time you publish. And it turns out that we can build, and our customers have proven this, that we can build layers of things on top of it that create a lot more value. Audit and compliance tools, identity tools, synchronization tools, and upcharge for that. So if it costs 1/10 of a penny to publish to Factom, it may cost a penny for that audit thing that you're building. When you start thinking about the world's data, though, that's a lot of pennies. So we say it's very similar to the Android model, where Android is an open source piece of technology. Google builds a bunch of cool stuff on top of it. 1,000 other app developers build on top of it. But basically Google controls a lot of the most interesting things you can do. And that's how you build business models in an open source world. We believe fundamentally that the technology changes the world and should be open source, but that doesn't mean we're not going to make a lot of money doing that.
So I have a question for Colin. So about half the room in here owned Bitcoin here. So is it a bit of a challenge to you and what Magnr are doing that only 50%, which I would say is quite a high percentage of people, own Bitcoin? And sort of is it part of Magnr's drive to get more people owning Bitcoin, or is it just to get more percentage of the market of those who already do own Bitcoin?
A few questions there. Well, my ultimate goal is to make sure that Bitcoin is the global currency of the world. Simple. That everyone should. the challenge for us, yes, it is about getting people to, first of all, get their first Bitcoins. Once they actually own Bitcoins and you understand the technology, it's like your first time you went to a foreign exchange office. You took your money there, you didn't know what the hell you're going to get, you end up getting some money and then you end up paying them some money for getting less money. What's happening? But essentially that's the same thing. You need to go through that experience in order to understand the process. Once you've got it, it's like riding a bike. You'll never forget it again. And that's where we're at right now. There's a shift. Now, the issue we have in the West is that we've got bank accounts, we've got financial institutions, we've got credit cards. We love PayPal. Okay, most of you probably don't know PayPal, but we've got PayPal. So we don't need Bitcoin, or do we? Where we're going to is developed nations where they don't care whether it's Bitcoin, they don't care whether it's a donkey. They just care that they can transact, they can do commerce. And this is where it's changing lives. Everyone got mobile phones. You know, the Bedouin desert people, they have mobile phones. They do all their banking online, or they can do things like that. But a lot of these people don't have access to banks. So what we're trying to achieve here is making people aware that here's a financial asset that you can use on your mobile phone. And you don't have to worry about the technology, don't have to worry about how it works. You know that that person receives Bitcoin, I can pay them Bitcoin, and we can exchange our goods. I don't care about a bank, I don't care about KYC, all those types of things. I just care, I want to buy that with my phone. Very simple. So that's hopefully answers your question.
Can I just ask one point, please, to how realistic our friend's opening statement was that he wants to see this as a global currency? How realistic is that aim?
Well, this is the first meeting of the Federal Reserve of Bitcoin.
We got a lot of work to do.
I'll quickly answer this. So how gold became the global currency of the world, it's because of its utilitarian use. People realize that it's much easier to shift this shiny piece of yellow stuff around rather than keep on shifting donkeys around. It's just made it simple, made commerce simple. And this is one of the things that makes commerce simple, Bitcoin.
Can I add a comment to it? Because I guess I look at this as we have a fantastic group of people here. And so let's describe a transaction you can only imagine, because I think that's the thing that's important. So what is the thing that most executives and employees of the world hate more than anything else?
Tax.
Expense reports, right after taxes. Okay? Right after taxes is expense reports. But what an expense report is money with policy. You only get the money back, not if you buy jewelry, not if you buy new sweatshirts, but if you pay for lunch. Not too much Patroose for lunch, because we watched that happen a few years ago, right? You can't spend $45,000 on Patroose for lunch, and you get you get refunded the money if you meet your HR policy. And so what we need is a secure mechanism to hold the money. So when we go to the restaurant, we have a mechanism where the money doesn't get stolen. We can help provide that. You need money with policy, so you have a smart contract that applies the transaction, because we're not integrating with the payment terminal, we're integrating with the cash register. So we know when you had lunch at the Hard Rock Cafe, you bought $25 worth of alcohol, 3 t-shirts, and 2 hamburgers for lunch, and we're not going to pay you back for the t-shirts. So we have money with policy that will assure that only the things we're authorized to return. You can have a bank so that the money that's held within that account, because you're going to want to have enough money on your phone in case the boss wants you to take everybody out for lunch, you better have a few $100s minimum, maybe $1,000, so you can take everybody out to lunch.
Who are you working for?
Right? And then what we want is an electronically signed receipt that meets all the requirements of the tax authority, so that when we supply our factual documents back, that messy piece of paper, that we can assure the integrity. Oh, so we just did an expense report transaction with no paperwork and no operational characteristic of the human. Now, all we'd have to do is open one transaction just across the street here at one restaurant, And the marketing plan would be just start taking people to lunch. Because how many people will go back to lunch the next day and want to go to the restaurant that doesn't have the ability to have an expense report with no process? So when I use an example like that, you can begin to imagine that in a decade, we could convert 100% of the population that has expense reports. When you go to the restaurant, you pull out your purse or your wallet, and you have 50 different ways to pay. Which one are you going to use? The one where I don't have to fill out an expense report. Because your other choice is spend all Saturday afternoon filling out the details. And these are the technologies that can automate that process and make that pain go away. That, I think, is a really good way to think about how all this stuff might change our daily lives in Bitcoin.
Example you've shown about expense reports is quite interesting. Now, number of years ago, credit cards introduced so-called level 2, level 3 data communication. So when you go to a restaurant that can produce this electronic receipt split by all the categories and stuff like it. That's in place for a long time. There are also expense management systems like Concur, again, in place for many years that was doing it. Now, what we saw was a massive resistance from point of view of many, many different businesses to actually provide this information. Because if you are a hotel and I'm sorry, you are making money out of adult movies that somebody is watching in their room, you don't want this information to be there, so you will be the one who will be stopping the implementation of these measures. Now, and generally you have a network effect because nobody wants to be the first, because if everybody making money out of the fact you can sell, alcohol and it will not be shown, or you can sell, this movie or whatever, so you will get a lot of resistance to it. How are you going to bridge this point when it's starting university to accept it?
I'm not sure at the end of the day we know the answer to that question, but I will say that today the really interesting thing is if you go down to any office supply store, they can tell you exactly how many pencils you own. Because you've gone and bought all the pencils you own in your house at that same office supply store. They have big data and they understand and they're marketing to you that, well, you buy these kinds of pencils versus those and you'll get coupons and web ads and all this kind of stuff that shows up in your environment because of the choices you made either in searching or purchasing. The one person who doesn't yet have big data is the consumer. And so the example I like to use in the US, because we all have a backyard with a lawn, right, is we all go out and buy a stupid lawnmower, and then you got to go buy new blades. And there's nothing worse in life than buying blades for your lawnmower because you have no idea what brand of Chinese lawnmower you own, right? And so you go and you guess, and you're always wrong, right? And so what I want to know is when I buy a dishwasher or a dryer or any appliance, anything. Now, in an automotive industry, we love the fact that they know what kind of car I bought and that they're going to service that relationship. They don't make the profit on the car, they make the profit on the relationship with the customer. What we're able to do now is bring that relationship model in big data down to much smaller dollar value transactions. So I can service your relationship with a lawnmower. I can send you coupons for new blades because it's springtime and you probably should buy a new blade for the lawnmower. But finally, the consumer also knows the things they own. We're not running around the house with a camera for insurance taking pictures of everything we own because I should have a receipt for everything I own. And the receipt thing has been a huge problem in the level 2, level 3 data. Level 2, level 3 data is not acceptable by any of the tax authorities. So I still have to run around with a stupid piece of paper.
Why would they accept smart contracts on this?
Because a smart contract is the evidentiary proof produced by the cash register, electronically signed, meets both all of US and all of European Union electronic laws. Not only that, it's required to be used in the Paperwork Reduction Act. That's just the funniest thing that ever happened since time, right? Right? But Factom is a beneficiary of the decade-old Paperwork Reduction Act, where we're supposed to have so it is a requirement by law in UK and European Union and US that an electronically signed receipt is the equivalent of paper, and that it is illegal to not accept it as a legal form of documentation. And there's plenty of statutes on it, and there's plenty of case law proving that that's true. It's taken a decade.
I just wanted to say, I do want to go to Q&A, but from what you just said about smart contracts, I'm conscious that we haven't spoken to Adrian from Rootstock yet. And I would like to get your opinion, because you're based in Argentina, so South American. Peter's obviously done some work in South America as well, but we just had mentioned there of the European Union, the US, and kind of the laws we have about data and receipts and record keeping. What are you seeing from the sort of South American angle in terms of reception to what you're doing with smart contracts? Okay. I would believe that there's more of a demand for smart contracts and record keeping in South America than there is in the US and EU, but I might be incorrect.
Yeah, basically there's a lot of people in South America that do not have access to the bank system. And so we're working with a lot of institutions in South America that could use our technology to bring, these people, these unbanked people, to the financial services that they cannot do, that they cannot access at this moment. So, yeah, there's a lot of work to do, but I'm pretty confident that blockchain technologies will be able to help us do it. So,
could you comment on Brazil? Brazil is an amazing country. And the reason Brazil is an amazing country is they came to the European Union and they went to France and Germany and they bought all of that smart card stuff. The whole shebang. Like what Gemalto and G&D and those guys were telling all of our countries in the West that we should have national ID cards and credentials and electronic signing and digital driver's licenses. Nobody told them we didn't buy it. They actually came over, they bought the whole shebang and deployed it in the country. So today, if you want to pay your business taxes, if you want to file anything in Brazil, you use a smart card. It's completely integrated. The whole society has a smart card-based, certificate-based, driver's license, identity, the whole 9 yards. It's a fantastic test pilot of all these things actually put in use, and it's been incredibly efficient.
And
not a lick of fraud.
But on that, this sort of ironic comment about fraud and everything, are you finding that? Are you finding people receptive to it in South America? Because what's going on? Because if they are so forward-thinking, in Brazil,
this is a brand new technology. We're working hard so people accept it. I understand we all love Bitcoin, but currently we have 3 transactions per second in Bitcoin. That's very far away from what PayPal and of course Visa is. So I don't think it's something that's only focused to the unbanked or to South America. It's more general. Yeah, more general.
Hi there. I think what I see in front of me is extremely exciting, and I think in a way it's almost a microcosm of the future, of how things will be in the future. And I don't doubt that each of these ideas and each of these companies is, in my mind, $1 billion opportunity. My question is, I've got no doubt it will happen. Why you, for each of you? That's really the question. Why your company and not another company doing the same thing, which is an amazing idea. We have property registry, we have the bank of Bitcoin, we have micropayments, smart contracts and security. All of these are great ideas, and I'm sure they will happen. I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but really my big question is, why your company?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start that. So my company is pretty remarkable because it's full of entrepreneurs. We have 8 co-founders. Every single one of them has started at least 1 and sometimes 3, 4, 6 businesses. So it's a group that came together because they believed in an idea, and they brought a bunch of really amazing skills. Paul Snow has been building distributed architecture for business systems for 30 years. He built the eligibility system, for the state of Texas. David Johnson's on company number 11 for him. Many exits. Andrew, our VP of product development, who's sitting back there somewhere, has already sold 2 medical record companies. So we have a lot of not just passion, but experience also. It turns out that entrepreneurship is hard in a lot of ways that you didn't expect it to be hard. And frankly, the only way to learn it is you beat your head into the wall a bunch. You fail things, you succeed at other things, you find people that you trust, you learn to sort of sniff out what the actual business is. And it's hard work. It's reps. It's like you do it and you do it and you do it and you learn it. The other thing that we've managed to be very blessed with is a collection of amazing advisors. You know, people who've done it in levels that we can't even imagine. Like one of the advisors for Factom is the former mortgage-backed security guy at the Federal Reserve. Right? So when I'm trying to understand how the mortgage market is put together and how it's a record-keeping problem, I sit down with somebody who's forgotten more about mortgages than I'll ever know. So we surround ourselves with really good advisors and role models. We try to stay as humble as we possibly can and teachable, learn from all those people. We always try to have a really amazing attitude. You know, business is full of you get slapped in the face and it's about getting up. And finally, we just do the reps. We do the work. You know, 1,000 meetings equals 10 contracts. So you do 100,000 meetings, and you'll have a really great business. So that's kind of how you do this stuff. And it's not magic. It's not well, we created this amazing brand because we spent a bunch of money on it. No, it's it's reps and reps and reps and reps. And that's how we do business.
Wow. That's good business. Well, for us, it's very much the same. We've got a team of very passionate people. Now, you've heard my story. So, essentially, the team that we've got is very, very much a tech team. They've come from places like eBay. Another one of our co-founders was working for Barclays and then working for Macquarie Bank, so understands the financial side of things. Now, putting those together, where technology Bitcoin and finance Bitcoin comes together, is something that we're all passionate about, and we all share that. We're really, we like the fact that this is the new age. Admittedly, I'm probably the oldest in the team, probably by about 10, 15 years. Everyone else is in the millennials, and they understand that the banking system is fundamentally flawed. Finance itself is fundamentally flawed. And they want to change that. And every single one of us is looking at making that change. And that's the belief as a collective. We believe we can change this. And I think with any startup, if they don't have the belief or the passion in what they're doing, then ultimately they will fail.
Actually, that's quite interesting as we lead into Magnr and SatoshiPay. So this new generation of millennials, and what is for your business, and what does that mean that your business is going to succeed in this kind of paying for content? Because most of us are used to the internet where we just think it all comes for free. And so are the millennials playing a major part in your business? Does that mean why you're going to be the one that succeed, or as someone said, the billion dollar opportunity?
So
can you stand up, please? I know I'm not standing up. But could you stand up? I'm just going to sit here in my big throne.
So the new attitude is one part of it. I mean, yes, younger people are more likely to spend online on content, statistics, and so what?
That's because Dad is spending.
Maybe. That's one part of it, but also increasingly in the industry, when it comes to digital content, the free culture has to go away, because the free culture wasn't actually free. So you were always paying with your intention by ads, and sometimes even with your data plan. So downloading the ads for CNN.com costs you, I think, something like 9 cents per page view on your data plan. So if you're allowed to pay 5 cents, you save money, right? So and there's a more direct transfer of value there. So I think that's contributing. And additionally, the younger generation growing up, I think. But I think once advertising I think it's on its way out anyway. A lot of statistics show that a certain type of advertising won't work anymore. That's very strong. So, and then being a first mover in that market, I think is a very, very important thing. So you do sort of a land grab, especially with our businesses. Reach is very important, and we're working hard on that. And having powerful partnerships as well, exclusive partnerships. So these things make us very valuable. And so we built our system. It took maybe a year of highly skilled blockchain Bitcoin experts. To copy that, to replace that, is going to be costly in time and also in money, of course. So that's the advantage we have. And also very powerful and important is a community, because we are about to go around for sort of a Stripe model, where we address developers, like people that are in a community of open development, open source development, that are all on GitHub. And this you can't just buy. So you need credibility, and that's what our team has. We are a lot of open source developers on the team, and we already speak at conferences, and that's something you can't buy. That's just like how the team's together, coming back to the team again, this credibility, and I believe that's very powerful and also a big advantage.
And Adrian, I think smart contracts seem to be kind of the darling of blockchain technology at the moment. I hear it a lot around. So again, the same question. So why rootstock? And is it because you're doing things with both Bitcoin blockchain and Ethereum? Is that what puts you ahead?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get very technical with this because we're building a platform and this is like high tech stuff. But you know, the smart contracts platforms idea is very new. There are very few players, you know, in the ecosystem. But what we have decided to do is to not invent the wheel, but use the Bitcoin ecosystem to create our smart contract platform. As they have already said, Bitcoin is the most secure network, decentralized payments network. So Rootstock will work using similar technology implementations and using the power of the Bitcoin miners and using Bitcoin as a fuel to execute the smart contracts. So Ethereum is a great idea and Rootstock is a great idea, but we are really confident in creating the most secure platform in the smart contracts world. So at the end, the companies will have to use the most secure platform, and I think that will be Rootstock.
And Stephen, you don't take much prompting. Why are you the billion-dollar opportunity?
Well, so I think it's a great question. Our approach is obviously team, intellectual property. The first mover advantage is a really important context in this space. I think what's important is to have a really broad vision and a really humble tactical execution. I agree completely with Peter. It's about reps. But it's about reps where you can execute in the market, establish a foundation from which you can build, and then have a very broad global vision for where you're going to execute in this market. The global vision is the surprise with your customers, your partners, and your investors. So when they get up in the morning, they go, wow, now I see what they're doing. That's the part that's cool. In our case, yes, we're enabling cybersecurity. Yes, we're enabling tools for all the app developers that are out there. But deep down underneath, we're trying to help the consumer manage their collection of devices. Your identity is not your superphone. Your identity is all the things that make up your household's collection of devices. So if I lose one, I can use the others to recover it. And the piece of magic that we're trying to implement will happen actually as a second phase of our business, is as these technologies engage, we will help you as a consumer to manage your collection of devices so that they all gain access to the services. When you buy a new device, you can add all the services with a button click. When you lose something, you don't have to worry about the accounts that were bound to that device. You can recover them. And ultimately, that puts us in a position to enable access to services with your collection of devices so that you have households and their relationship to all the services to which they belong. And ultimately, we believe that will drive subscriber value for our partners and ultimately for ourselves. And that's how we create the return on investment. So we want you to look at us later on in life to say, if Facebook were to add Rivetz, we'll double the market cap of Facebook. Because they didn't have to buy a phone. They got the equivalent of a phone relationship with their customer, and therefore a stronger experience that they could deliver greater value to. And we can share in a piece of that. And so how do we get 1 billion households that have a value per household in the services that we help to manage and deliver to that household? That's our ultimate goal. You do that one step at a time to get there. And you have to be patient in that process, but I also think you can clearly articulate and watch the execution of that so that you can measure whether or not we're being successful in the execution of that. Today we built tools. The next step is enable those tools in a very broad spectrum of customers, from Bitcoin to Internet of Things to medical to automotive to IoT. It's all the same problem. Protect keys, protect instructions, starting your car, and doing $1 million wire transfer are the same transaction. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish.
On your team, Adrian, is the Bitcoin core developer, isn't it? Which is pretty major guy to have playing on your team. I just thought I'd put that out there because I wish I had him on my team.
Well, actually, Jan is friend to Sergio. Sergio Lerner, he was here in London until yesterday, so he couldn't join today. And
so we're not quite special enough, so Sergio.
No, had some personal issues, you know. He had restricted the places where her wife could spend money. So, Sergio is a very well-known scientist. To put him a label in the Bitcoin community, he has dedicated a lot of how do you say that? Like issues or bugs in the Bitcoin protocol. Sorry? Vulnerabilities. Yeah, that's the word I wanted to say. Thank you, Hamid. And well, yes, he's working in our team, and everybody mentioned their team, so I take
just
the
a shout out
opportunity
to Sergio there.
to talk about the team, and Sergio is not the only one that's excellent, but he's the rock star.
He's a celeb, yeah.
Obviously, could have been a stand-up comedian. Thank you very much for tonight. That's been very encouraging. Adrian, I was just wondering, are you what I've been hearing called a side chain, or are you actually a platform on top of Bitcoin? Are you linking Ethereum to Bitcoin, or are you just on top of Bitcoin?
No, well, not Ethereum. You know, it's actually it's like a side chain. It's you know, our blockchain is a separate blockchain, and it's pegged to Bitcoin. So you need Bitcoin to execute the smart contracts on our blockchain. Sidechain is a way to implement that. So we are working on a couple of ways to implement what is called the two-way peg. You know, so how you can move Bitcoins to another blockchain and root coins to Bitcoin. And sidechain is one of those possibilities. And the other one we're working on is called drive chain. You know, we have a white paper on the website you can check.
Everyone's read it. Everyone's read your white paper. I'm sure
pretty sure about that. And but basically there are two ways, similar ways, but that do require some changes to the Bitcoin protocol. So we are working in like a hybrid model for the moment that requires some notaries to keep custody of the Bitcoins and do some checking to go back and forth.
With the root coin, are we having an ICO?
No. Sorry?
Hang on, so the question was just over, with the root coin, are we having an ICO? So, yeah.
I didn't get that, sorry.
Hakeem said no.
Hakeem says no.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, if I can add to what Adrian
Hang on, just
said.
quickly, you're not allowed to do anything unless you've got a microphone.
Okay, very quickly. So what's really interesting about what Rootstock is doing is that the smart contract capability that they are developing is essentially enabling people who have been building smart contracts on the Ethereum system to now port those very same smart contracts on a on a blockchain that is secured by the same Bitcoin miners that are securing the Bitcoin blockchain. So the security that you have in Bitcoin, which is essentially the best to this day, they will benefit from that straight away from the start. This is something that is quite amazing. Sorry.
Yeah.
So deserves a clap.
So the audience is more technical than what I was expecting, so it's very good.
We've got time for one more question. It better be a really, really good one. We've only got time for one more, and I can see food, so it better be pretty brief as well.
Okay, it's got to be really quick. So I've actually got two. Very quickly, Adrian, I believe from what I've heard that smart contracts would be brilliant also for escrow arrangements.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Well, actually, a smart contract is a program. You know, getting a bit more technical. You have a Turing-complete virtual machine, so you can program anything. Basically.
Right.
Like I said, they better be good because there's food over there.
Right. So, just on the escrow. So, escrow on Bitcoin is a very simple thing to do. So, we use an escrow system in the background of us. It's kind of you upload your funds to one address, which is then controlled by two signatures, and that's already an escrow. And we're using that to make these very small payments possible, which can just kind of adjust a transaction that's moving fund from that address. We don't actually move the funds. We just prepare the transaction that will be sent out later, and that's basically an escrow. Very easy to do in Bitcoin.
So everyone is going to be here all evening if you want to have a chat with them. I just very want quickly, for those of you who don't know Coinsilium, just draw your attention to the team of Coinsilium that are here, so you know who to speak to if you want to. There's Haki Mamoni, who's our CTO, and he was the first person that ever properly explained Bitcoin and blockchain to me, and the reason why I'm here. So we can either blame him or thank him. You decide. So ask him any of your technical questions. Pia Thomas, who is somewhere, but she might have. Oh, she's there in the red scarf. She's our CFO and generally looks after and keeps us all in line. And then Eddie, who you've already met, and Laurent, who you've already met, and I'm Jan. So just give any of us a shout if you've got any questions, and enjoy the evening and enjoy talking to this great panel. Thank you very much.